The Bears defense is shaking right now. The star linebacker got the green light to look for a new team and $15 million on the line. A monster of the Midway that fans thought was gone for good might be roaring again in navy and orange. And that veteran wideout who came in ready to roll is getting shoved toward the exit by an unstoppable rookie. 3 stories that are about to redefine this franchise right now. Do not close this video. Do not move, hit subscribe, and smash that like button because what is coming is going to leave you speechless. This is Chicago, baby. Bear down, Tremaine Edmunds. That name is all over the entire NFL today, and it is important to lay out exactly why this matters so much for the future of the Chicago Bears. 3 seasons where this person was the heart and soul of this defense, the one who threw that body around when nobody else would, the linebacker who led the team in tackles like it was a personal debt owed to the city of Chicago. 112 tackles last year, 4 interceptions, 1 sack, 1 fumble recovery, and all that in just 13 games. After missing 4 with a groin injury, the question on the table for me and for you is whether a player with those numbers really deserves to get pushed toward the door, and the answer is not as simple as the salary cap would like to make it look. But here we are, the Chicago Bears, with Ryan Poles calling the shots, just made one of the toughest and most telling decisions of this entire offseason. They have given Tremaine Edmunds permission to seek a trade. In plain English, that means the organization is telling this 27-year-old to go knock on doors all over the league because things in Chicago are not lining up anymore. And the one number that explains this whole thing is simple. $17.9 million, that is Edmunds' cap hit for 2026, with the Bears currently in the red, sitting at negative $4.1 million in available cap space. Keeping that contract on the books is flat out impossible if they want to build the kind of team they need around Caleb Williams. Let me be as clear as Chi-Town wind in January. Ryan Poles is not doing this because Edmunds played bad ball. Poles is doing this because the 3-year vision on the board requires financial flexibility. And Edmunds' deal, which was one of Poles' first big swings in free agency after getting the job, no longer fits that vision. The linebacker signed a 4-year, $72 million contract in 2023. Edmunds delivered tackles, delivered leadership, but the NFL is a business, and in this business, cap space runs the show. Cutting Edmunds would mean $15 million in instant relief with only $2.4 million in dead cap. That is math any general manager has to take seriously. Now let us talk about what is going on out in the market because this is where it gets real interesting. The Tennessee Titans, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the New York Giants are the 3 teams that have been publicly identified as interested in Edmunds. And it makes sense for every one of them. The Titans have a ton of cap room and badly need to upgrade their linebacking core after Cody Barton turned into a complete letdown in Nashville. The Raiders, with new assistant defensive line coach Travis Smith in the building, might have just the connection needed to push them toward a serious offer, and the Giants need quality bodies all over that defense while they rebuild the whole thing from the ground up. But here's the key question, and it is one Chicago has to think through carefully. If the Bears simply cut Edmunds and get nothing back, they still free up the $15 million. So the big difference between cutting and trading is whether Ryan Poles can pull some draft picks or players that actually help build this roster. There is already one specific scenario floating around involving the Titans, Edmunds, and a 5th-round pick this year heading to Nashville in exchange for a 4th-round pick this year and a 6th-rounder next year. For Chicago, that would mean not only cap relief, but also moving up in the draft and stacking more ammo to keep building this thing. The question is that enough of a return for 3 years of defensive leadership? I think Poles has to squeeze more than that out of the deal, but in a negotiation where everyone knows the Bears can cut Edmunds anyway, the leverage swings heavily toward the buyers, not Chicago. Now let us talk about what this means for the future of the Bears defense. With Edmunds likely on the way out, a couple of names jump right onto the radar. TJ Edwards, whose health is a huge question mark, and No Sewell are the linebackers left on the roster. New defensive coordinator Dennis Allen who comes in with a strong reputation and a very defined defensive philosophy, is going to have to build this unit with what is left and whatever polls can land in free agency and the draft. There is even talk about Anthony Hill Jr. as a potential Edmunds replacement, someone who could come in cheaper and give the Bears more years of development and upside. And here's how I see it, and I stand on this: losing Tremaine Edmunds hurts. It hurts because this person played hard for this city, came here when nobody else was lining up to do it, and because in 2025, Edmunds truly looked like the best version ever seen in a Bears uniform. But if Ryan Poles finds a way to turn that departure into draft picks that become the next pillars of this defense, then the move will have been worth it. Soldier Field demands a winner. Chicago demands a winner. And sometimes building a winner means having the guts to let go of the ones who helped you get to this point. This is not over by a long shot, but this decision marks the beginning of a deep structural shift in what the monsters of the Midway defense is going to look like in 2026 and beyond. If that caught you off guard, stick around, because the next story is about a name that is going to make every Bears fan jump out of the seat right now. Khalil Mack. Just saying that name lights a fire in the heart of any Chicago Bears fan. It is impossible to forget what that day in September 2018 felt like when this person, this monster of the Midway, ran out onto Soldier Field in navy and orange and absolutely wrecked the Green Bay Packers in the season opener. 2 defensive touchdowns in the debut. 2. Mack hit Chicago and immediately sent a message to the entire NFC North that something had changed in this city. And for 4 seasons from 2018 through 2021, Khalil Mack was exactly what Bears fans had been begging to see: an elite defender who made offenses all over the league flinch when they heard the words "monsters of the Midway." 36 sacks in 53 games with the Bears, 163 tackles, 14 forced fumbles, 3 Pro Bowls, 1 All-Pro nod in 2018. That is not just a run, that is a legend. And then came the moment nobody really wanted to face. In the 2022 offseason, with the team in full rebuild mode and desperate for draft capital, the Bears shipped Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers for a second-round pick that turned into Jaquan Brisker. On paper, the move made sense, but it left a crater in the soul of this fan base. And out in Los Angeles, even while dealing with injuries, Mack was still an absolute nightmare for offenses when healthy. The Bears moved into a new era without Mack. Caleb Williams arrived, Ben Johnson arrived, and now it looks like this new era might include a reunion chapter nobody saw coming. Here's what is going down right now. Ian Rappaport, one of the most trusted insiders in the entire NFL, reported that Khalil Mack is not retiring and is looking at options to play in 2026. The Chargers, where Mack has spent the last few years, are seen as the favorite to bring Mack back, and that makes plenty of sense since there is already familiarity with the scheme and the building. But the key phrase here is that Mack is looking at all options. And with everything going on in Chicago and the desperate need for an elite pass rusher, the question has to be asked out loud: why would the Bears not be making that phone call right now? I am convinced 100% that the Bears' need at edge rusher is both real and urgent. Just look at the numbers. In 2025, the Chicago Bears finished the regular season with only 35 sacks. Only 6 teams in the entire NFL put up fewer. Montez Sweat, supposed to be the #1 pass rusher on this team, ended with 10 sacks, which is respectable, but not the kind of dominance you need from your top edge if you are trying to make a deep playoff run. Gervon Dexter, the defensive tackle, was second on the list with 6, and Austin Booker added 4.5, but only played half the season after missing the first 2 months with injury. That is the full extent of what this defense did in terms of getting after the quarterback. And the results from last year's big swings on the defensive line were, to put it bluntly, a mess. The Bears dropped more than $80 million in total contract value on Grady Jarrett and Dayo Odeyingbo. Jarrett, the defensive tackle who was supposed to be a disruptive force inside, never became the difference maker the Bears were banking on. Odeyingbo, the defensive end, had 1 sack before going down for the final 9 games of the regular season with an Achilles injury against the Cincinnati Bengals. $80 million spent, and a defensive line that failed to dominate anyone. That, Chicago fans, is exactly what has to get fixed right now, which brings us to the heart of the discussion. The number one reported target for Ryan Poles at pass rusher this offseason is Max Crosby of the Las Vegas Raiders. Crosby is one of the best edge rushers in the league, young, consistent, and would completely transform this defense, but landing Max Crosby is complicated, expensive, and nowhere close to guaranteed. If Poles cannot lock that deal down, if the Raiders ask for the moon or the cap hit and contract length get out of control, then there has to be a high-impact plan B on the table. And I truly believe Khalil Mack on a one-year deal could be that perfect plan B. Look at it from the player's side. Mack is 34 years old, has dealt with serious injuries. Mack is not in a spot to grab a 5-year contract from anybody. The realistic target is a place to compete, a clear role, and an organization with real win-now ambitions. Chicago under Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams under center checks all those boxes. And for Mack, coming back to Chi-Town would be the ultimate full-circle moment. It would mean a real shot to win with the franchise that turned Mack into a legend. It would mean being part of the Caleb Williams era from the ground floor. Here is how this could flip everything. If the Bears can bring Mack in on a one-year deal, develop Austin Booker at the same time, and use the draft to grab another young edge rusher in the first 2 rounds, the entire pass rush profile of this defense changes overnight. Add that to what Dennis Allen can cook up schematically, and now you're talking about a team that can seriously contend in the NFC. Next year, the Packers, Vikings, Lions, every one of them would have to start sweating because Chicago is not building just to survive. Chicago is building to dominate, and a reunion with Khalil Mack would be exactly the kind of statement move this fan base is dying to see. Bear down, Da Bears, Navy and Orange forever. But now we get into the really wild part, because the third story today is about the future of the offensive side of this team, and there are decisions coming that could reshape the Bears' passing game for good. Olamide Zaccheaus, a name that maybe does not hit with the same emotional punch as the other two, but one that tells a story that matters a lot for how the Chicago Bears are evolving on offense. And to really get what is going on with Zaccheaus, it is important to first understand why the Bears brought Zaccheaus to Chicago and what they expected when that deal got done. Ben Johnson, the new head coach, had to build this wide receiver room basically from scratch with a crystal clear philosophy. DJ Moore locked in as the number 1, Rome Odunze as the number 2, with all the upside in the world. And then a veteran wideout, experienced blue collar who could slide in as the reliable WR3 in the slot and be the guide Caleb Williams needed while learning an NFL system at an elite level. Olamide Zaccheaus, coming off a 1-year, $1.5 million deal, looked like a perfect fit for that role. A receiver who had averaged more than 10 yards per catch in every season of the career up to that point. Someone with a reputation as a total pro, a team-first player, exactly the kind of presence a new head coach wants in the locker room when trying to build a winning culture, and early on, things were on track. Zaccheaus built chemistry with Caleb Williams through the offseason, picked up the system quickly, was doing exactly what was needed in that spot, but then something happened that nobody in Chicago expected to happen this fast, and that something has a name: Luther Burden III. Luther Burden III came to Chicago as a luxury pick in the 2nd round of the 2025 draft, a receiver with sky-high upside who was always going to need time to adjust to the NFL game, especially to the kind of complex system Ben Johnson likes to run. And at first, sure, Burden went through that adjustment curve, but slowly, game by game, Burden started to absorb the system and started showing exactly why the Bears took Burden where they did. And when Zaccheaus began having issues with drops in big-time moments, that door swung wide open for Burden to step in and lock down the role for good. The final 2025 stat line for Zaccheaus looked like this: 39 catches for 313 yards and 2 touchdowns, averaging 8 yards per reception, the lowest mark of the career. On top of that, Zaccheaus was almost a non-factor on special teams, an area where there had been real value in pass stops. 53% of the offensive snaps. A season that started with real promise and ended with the rookie kicking the veteran to the bench. I honestly think And I say this with full respect for Zacchaeus as a professional, that what happened here is not a failure by the player, but proof that the Bears' offensive talent level is now somewhere that would have been unthinkable just 2 years ago. When the depth chart already has DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Luther Burden firmly established as starters, and on top of that, Jade Walker is also capable of contributing on offense, there just is not room on the field or in the budget for Zacchaeus on this roster. The math just does not work for a return. The financial piece backs that up. Zacchaeus signed last year for $1.5 million, the highest annual salary of the career. In today's market, based on similar deals for veteran receivers in comparable roles, the expectation is probably somewhere between $1.2 and $1.4 million per season. Most likely on another one-year contract with some other team looking for experienced depth. The Bears do not need that right now. They already have depth. What they need is to keep building up the other side of the ball. But there is one scenario, and really just one, where Zacchaeus could find a path back to Chicago. It all hinges on what happens with DJ Moore. There is growing buzz about the Bears potentially exploring a DJ Moore trade before free agency opens. If that happens, if Moore is moved out of Chicago, then Luther Burden slides into a WR1 or WR2 role outside. Rome Odunze keeps growing in that outside role, and suddenly there is a wide-open slot spot that Zacchaeus already knows inside and out. The chemistry with Williams is already there. The system is already familiar. It would be the lowest risk, highest comfort option for Caleb during that transition. Even then, though, I think the Bears would probably lean in another direction and bring in someone new. Maybe a talented rookie they can mold instead of bringing Zacchaeus back at roughly the same price. This organization is in full build mode, prioritizing youth and long-term development, and that philosophy does not really line up with a 29-year-old veteran who already had a shot in Chicago and saw the role fade down the stretch. Here's where I land on it. Olamide Zacchaeus was a good soldier for the Chicago Bears, did what was asked, stayed professional from day one to the last. And if there is no return, hopefully there is a team out there where Zacchaeus can light it up again, because there is still enough juice left to help in the NFL. But the story of this chapter in Chicago is that of a veteran who opened the door and then watched the future of the team blow through it at full speed. That future is named Luther Burden III, and that future, Bears fans, is bright. All right, Chi-Town, we're at the end, and it is time to lock in, because what we just went through today is premium stuff for any fan who truly knows Da Bears. Tremaine Edmunds, the linebacker who led this defense for 3 seasons, is out there looking for a new home, and the Bears have to turn that exit into something that actually matters. Here's the question for you. And I want answers in the comments right now. Do you think Ryan Poles is going to land at least a 3rd-round pick or better for Edmunds? Or do we end up cutting and getting nothing back? Drop that opinion. Type it out. Do not sit on it. Khalil Mack, the monster of the Midway, confirmed no retirement and is weighing every option. The Bears desperately need an elite pass rusher. I think this reunion can happen. So here's what I want to know. If the Bears can bring Mack back on a 1-year deal while they develop Booker and go get a young edge rusher in the draft, is that the right move? Or would you rather see Poles go all in for Max Crosby with everything that would cost? I want that debate absolutely on fire in the comments of this video right now. Olamide Zacchaeus, a veteran who gave everything while here, pushed to the sideline by a rookie who grabbed that role and never let go. The last question I am throwing your way is this. If the Bears end up trading DJ Moore before free agency, do you bring Zacchaeus back to keep continuity in the slot with Caleb Williams, or do you want Poles to use that spot to inject fresh blood into the offense? Your opinion matters. Write it down. Now listen up, because this is big. This channel is not just a spot where you drop in to catch Bears news. This channel is a family. We are the fans who love this franchise with everything we have. The ones who feel every loss in the gut and celebrate every win like we just hit the lottery. We are the ones who lived through the dark days with Trubisky and Nagy, and now we are watching something special rise with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson leading the way. This community is where that passion lives, grows, and gets fed every single day. If you have not subscribed yet, do it right now. 1 click, 1 second of your time. In return, you get Bears news every single day. Deep analysis, straight up unfiltered opinions, and the same fire you see in every video we drop. Hit subscribe, hit like on this video if you enjoyed it, share it with that Bears fan friend who is always late to the big news. Because together we are stronger, together we go farther, and together we're going to watch the Chicago Bears finally lift that trophy this city has been waiting on for decades. Bear down, Chicago. Da Bears, see you in the next video.